the previous interview. This is just an opportunity to get to know people a little bit better in relation to their work and what they do. Some of them you may know already, some of them you may not, and learn some interesting insight about them. And then we're going to connect that to their faith and how their faith and their spiritual walk contributes in to their work and the work that they do. So this is going to be an offsite interview. So I'll bring Mike Ward is going to be, I'm interviewing today, but I'll bring him in here in just a few seconds. But hopefully, as I said before, you'll learn a little bit about what these people do. Maybe some of you young people, if you're watching this, you may have some interest in some of these jobs that people explain, and that'll give you an avenue, an opportunity to chat with them if you want to. I know we did this class about 4 or 5 years ago, maybe a little more, in the youth class, and it went over really well. So we try to make application to spiritual teaching, and sometimes we do that in a good way, an effective way, and sometimes maybe a little shaky. But this is a way that we can really take, uh, you know, uh, something practical as we talk about work and things that go on with work, and make some connections with that. So let me bring Mike on here. Should pop up on the side. There he is. All right, Mike, how are you today?
I'm doing great. Got a day off. And, glad to be here.
Good, good. You have almost a week off, huh? After
Yes,
working,
I'm on the downhill side.
yeah, working 7/12s. I guess you deserve a week off after that.
Meetings and stuff online. Still have emails,
Uh,
and that comes with it, right?
yeah, yeah. All right. Well, I want to start by just. I see you got your A&M shirt on there today. Uh, I want to
Yes,
start.
got it. That's a good yes.
I want to start by just talking a little bit about your schooling that you did and how that kind of led into your first job and where you got into today.
Okay. I I've always liked things for as long boards and bicycles. That's where that was my things, and that was just something I enjoy. And I would probably recommend that anybody, that's what to ask you what you enjoy, because if you can make money doing joy, that's always a plus. And I was good on lawnmowers and motors. Got into cars when I was in high school and all that, and so I was good in school. And when you kind of put those in, and so I don't use much still. Uh, do I've got a mechanical engineering, and it was a blessing. It's been something I enjoy. I've something I skill, an inherent skill. And I want everybody, you know, when you first start out, uh, asking people for guidance counselors, because they'll ask you those questions. What do you enjoy? What do you think you're good at? What do you like doing? And that the things that you learn to make you good at those things, it's, like are responsible. Is your attitude good? Are you willing to learn? All those things will build, and that's how you get better in your career later in life. But if you're doing something you like, uh, and it's not an error, choose the wrong. And I really like these notes because it kind of made me think about it. If I
Mm,
do that I'm not good at, and I'm not good at sales, I'm not good at interpersonal skills. I'm actually that's why I'm an engineer. But the thing is, if you do make a bad choice, and I've had a granddaughter that she's choosing to get out of the teaching field because she realizes it's really not for her, and she put
mm,
time wasted time. And so if you do feel pressure to do or something, and you spend time, and then you realize it's not something you like, it's tougher to do a career that you don't like the subject or the things. It's not a waste. It's not an error. I think you can always use that, and you'd always change. So don't look. But I chose something, and that it's something that I like. Started nuclear because that looked like it sounded impressive, and then after 2.5 years of struggling with math, I realized that mechanical was more what I ability in I guess is what it is. So uh, and getting and going to college is a good idea, not necessarily required, but it's a credential, and
mm.
just not. It's not required. You can make good money. You can be satisfied with life. You can be creative in doing anything. Even welders, I know guys that just enjoy it. So I wouldn't look down on not going to college. But if you go to college and get a degree, you essentially had your ticket punched, as in this person is willing to do what it takes to make the grades, to be, to make themselves go home and study. And even those things are necessary in business. Are you willing to do what it takes to get a goal? And then people take chances on that because they went to college, because they got a certificate, because they did something, and they're willing to take a chance and hire you. So I think from a career standpoint, they're all good. And if you can afford to go to college and you like that stuff, it is a great thing. It's not going to be set you in stone. You can have a degree in, I don't want to say anything, but and then do something that's just vaguely, tangentially.
Or
Uh,
unrelated, or unrelated maybe. Yeah.
yeah. So anyway, the idea, the job that I have now.
Uh,
Anyway, I got a bachelor's in mechanical engineering, and I've since gone back and taken some extra courses. But I'm at the end of my career. I've been working for 40 something years, I guess, since 40 years, almost 40 years since I graduated. So really, I'm on the downhill slide. And the things that they're all related to engineering or mechanics or things along that line. So, but I still like it, and I find it a challenge, and to me, it's really interesting. But it's all changed. It's changed from the things that I do is not the things, and so you can kind of grow into it. But the things that you learned, not in school, but whether you're responsible, whether you're willing to learn things, well, whether you're willing to take a chance and go beyond, whether you're willing to do things that others couldn't do or wouldn't do, not as far as not being lazy like that. Those will all build you up to where somebody says, "Hey, we need somebody to do this." Well, he's done pretty good. Get him, and so all those things that aren't college personality traits, and I
mm,
think they tie into the spiritual things we're going to talk about probably. But if you're willing to do the best you can, even if it doesn't mean more money, if it doesn't mean more, I don't reputation, perhaps maybe people make fun of you, but you do it, then there will be opportunities come along, and you're the natural person, and before you know it, you're doing things you never thought you could do because you were willing to learn them. And there are some things that I don't like learning. I don't like learning how to handle people. I training along the way as an engineer when I really wasn't set up. And my personality is not unlike people like Tracy. Tracy's a good people person, and you are too. You work with people all the time. By choice, I would choose not to, but you had to learn. And then now I'm at a position now where I have to handle a lot of that, and I'm not.
you like to work with machines instead of people.
I prefer. I've got projects. I got an engine downstairs that I need to get running, that Jeep, and I need to work on that. And I like that. Uh, like that. It's just a personality trait of mine, and I like projects, wood, and things. I've got two screens and HDMI cables. I've got a computer I built. Anyway, things that I find interesting.
Yeah,
And
tinker around. What in your current job, what's kind of the average day? I'm sure you don't have an average day, sort of as a supervisor, but on average, how many people do you kind of deal with? What do you spend time doing, just generally?
well, I'm responsible for about 40, 45 people, and so
Oh,
I know it can be, and there's a group of hourly guys that average 55 years of age, but I've got 22 of them. I've got 7 electrical technicians, E&I techs. I've got 7 supervisors slash engineers slash salary people, and I have some contractors and so the days are just full of all kind of opportunities. I go in, and also we have a new computer, so being up on computers is handy. I've always tried to keep up with that. So we have a new system, and having to learn at my age totally how to write requisitions and pull up and approve things, and that's something else.
Teach an old dog new tricks, as they say.
To learn new tricks. I've known guys that hate it because I have guys that hate it because it's different. But you know what? By the way, SAP is standard in the industry, and if you learn that, then and I'm not looking to change jobs, but it looks good on a resume because most people use it. So it's some luck, some circumstances, and some attitude. I got where I am. Uh, I'm doing what I'm doing now, whether it's a bad thing. It's one of those where you're hard enough to do the job and stupid enough to take it because it's not the job. So, but really, a lot of it can be on the type of faith because I've been laid off before when I was in my 30s, and that's a really bad feeling. And to be a job, but it seemed like every job I either picked up a new skill, it was doing something slightly different. I'm really doing, and you really have to depend on your faith that apparently this is what God wants. And I've done jobs. I was working when I first came here into Nederland. I worked at a place that has been sold. I worked there for 9 years, and it was being sold, and I felt uncomfortable. And then I went on another job that was a different industry, but it worked out for the best. I stayed there for 21 years, and then they got sold. Even though you're in there's always times when either that things change, and it's scary. And I know that you just got to put it in God's hands. And every one of those, every job I've either been laid off from or I moved out because I lived in Houston for a while and it was scary in there. But it was all better. It worked out well. It always worked out better. And so I don't feel like I did not plan my career. I just saw something that looked good, or something happened and I had no choice. And so I'm sure guys that work construction, they laid off all the time. I got laid off been years ago. I had to sell a house and move out of the area because there wasn't that many jobs, and it was scary. But really got to put God on that. And every time he's always done me really well. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing, and I'm very thankful for it. It's an easy job working. Probably, but I don't plan on anytime soon. But anyway, what I was essentially saying, a lot of it's circumstances and luck, not a plan. Your plan's going to go wrong. Don't depend on your plan. Depend on God, because all of a sudden, boom, you're in a different situation. Do the best you can when you're there. Be responsible. Try to learn new stuff. Try to do your boss or your company the best you can, because that's part of your career. But that's just a personality trait that if you work on those personality traits, you'll become indispensable. And it's amazing that you'll be.
As they say, hard work pays off too. I mean, as you say,
not because I'm smarter. It's not because I'm a better people person, because I'm not. But you just do the best, and I do hard work, and then all of a sudden you find out that people appreciate it. They pay you well. They ask you to stay around. They ask you to do a bigger job, and so those are the things that makes you successful. Not how good your grades you were in college. And I made good grades, really good grades. But when I went to college, I found out that I wasn't near as smart as I thought I was.
You're a little more average.
Oh yeah, but it is hard work and attitude, and put faith in God. And you know what? If you do something and you're embarrassed how bad a job you did, you need to work on that, because you're never going to be successful in a career if you don't do the best you can. It's just part of it's knowledge, but a whole bunch of it is hard work and attitude. Anyway,
what about in a particular job? And now, what do you enjoy most about your job, and what do you enjoy least about your job? Would you say, kind of day to day?
I do a whole lot of. I represent my guys. I got we're a maintenance department. I do a lot of time making sure everybody knows that we know what the problem is. We're going to fix the problem. I reassure people a whole lot, because a lot of people what went wrong, and I'm real open. Don't cover anything up. So I do a whole lot of representing
Communication. Yeah.
The making my guys look good as much as I can. Yeah, give a lot of. I don't take praise. I pass it around. That's something else you don't want to do, is be the one to say, well, I did this. No, my guys did it. They did a fine job. They worked hard. Start appreciating, and so I do a lot of that, and I like that. I do work with guys that are some of my guys, by the way. A lot of my guys are not Christian, and they're grouchy and they're whiny, and I still love them. I really do. It's kind of funny. They're just big babies in some ways. I don't listen. I don't like, oh man, it can be just, it's just terrible sometimes. But that's, I don't really care for that. I don't like discipline. You know what? There's rules. I don't want to be the hall monitor, but you guys, you get paid to do the right thing and not to do this. And so I don't like that, but it's part of my job. And when it's part of your job, and I tell them, I don't, yeah, it's nothing personal. It's just business. It's a job. It makes it easy, and it makes, when you have a problem with somebody and it's personal, then you are letting your emotions go. That's a bad thing. Don't ever do that. Got to be impersonal. Probably the same. You don't spank your kids because you're mad at them. You spank them for their own good. Now, you might get a little joy out of it sometimes.
So they do. So they do the right thing in the future too. So just like you want your guys.
Yeah, I don't care so much for that, but I do like the fact that we do real well. We've got a good reputation. Most everybody is doing their best. People see it, people appreciate it, and they and we've got a good reputation. And we don't hide stuff. That's Sometimes we do stupid stuff, and we have to tell them, guys, it broke because we didn't do something wrong. Nobody. But anytime you start hiding and start blaming, oh, they did, it's because you guys didn't do that. That becomes real counterproductive. People don't appreciate it. They really appreciate the fact that you're willing to lay it down on the line. This is what happened, and they'll forgive you. And not only that, they'll start to depend on you to tell the truth. That's embarrassing things happen at work. Taking responsibility for it and saying we did the wrong thing, we didn't do a good job, is actually a super good thing. Take responsibility. It's going to happen. You're going to mess up. You're going to do something that's going to be wrong. And but being able to say we did wrong, we're going to do something different, is a sign of maturity. It's a sign of a can-do attitude. People want to hire those guys. They want those guys because they'll get better. None of this hiding stuff and sloppy work and don't care. Anyway.
Let's look at your faith, kind of how your faith ties into to some of these comments you made so far. And I know you're kind of a supervisor and like I said, over 40, 45 people or so. And so that kind of bears some on the discussion a little bit. But I know you mentioned a lot of non-Christians, perhaps. Are there other Christians at your workplace? How does that help?
There are some. There's a guy. I'm not going to mention. There's a guy that is a fallen away member of the church. His mother is a member of the church, and I enjoy talking with him. You got to keep yourself clean. You can't separate your work from your persona, because you just can't do it. It's Now there's times I don't do as well. There's times that I have to stop. I can't do this. I can't talk like this. I can't act like this. But you can't keep them separate. You got to be, so the things that you wouldn't do around I can't do around them. So with that being said, there are some guys. I have a guy that's and who knows, he may change. This coworker, he was a member of the church. He's not. But he may. I work with a guy that's apostolic, and we love talking about the Bible, and I really enjoy him. He's and one of my bosses is Latter-day Saints, and I like the fact that he is his morals are good. I like that, even though we don't talk. I have yet to. He hasn't my boss very long, probably a couple months. With that being said, there's guys out there that don't have anything to do with Christianity, and I just really don't. I don't hang out with anybody. I don't have best friends with anybody. I don't socialize with them, not because I don't. They don't do things that I don't. That, like, there's guys I'd like. I know a preacher. I have a guy that works for me. He's a preacher's son, and he's fallen away. And we talk, and he was going through. I'm not, again, won't mention names, but he had a problem going to one congregation, and they wouldn't accept him because he's remarried, and he went to a different place. He's maybe trying to do the right thing, but and we talk things like that. He's got a bunch of kids. But even though I don't sit there and tell them I don't judge them. We talk the Bible. We talk about raising kids. We talk about things like that. So you're going to run into those people everywhere. Now, on one, you've got to, you've got to not do anything that's required. So you've got to be professional. But on the other hand, there's time to talk about day-to-day stuff. And as a guy, we're not used to talking about heartfelt things. I mean, I don't. Women are really good at that. So I've noticed that. But I really enjoy talking faith, my faith, the problems I have, problems my family's had, and you can share a lot and not share in the things that they're doing. Let's say so. I'm surrounded, and it's because I think we're in the Bible Belt. But I got a bunch of people that I work with that have some form of religion. Very few. So I think you'll find. At least I find very few that practice. In fact, if I had to say, there's only probably out of all my 40, let's say there's 44 guys, I bet there's not just a couple, probably not 5 of them on any given Sunday will be attending something. Some of them just don't. They just don't. They can be real common to find in that, but doesn't mean you can't talk to them about it. Doesn't mean there and share something about it. I mean, I don't sit there and say, well, you shouldn't do this, and you really are a sinner, but or the Bible says you shouldn't do that. And I don't do that unless they ask, of course. If they came to me broken down and said, hey, I need some advice, then yes, I'll be willing. But if they're sitting there and they're just talking, you got to choose how you're going to water that plant. You don't sit there anyway. But and I bet I run into a whole lot more people that don't. Than you. You're really surrounded by a cloud of witnesses. You're surrounded by
somewhat, yeah.
that. I mean, they're probably not going to approach you. My guys probably would say, "Oh, he's preacher. I'm not going over there." But I think in industry or even in sales or anything, you're going to have a lot of people. Go ahead. Got another question.
What are some temptations of sin that is in the workplace there? I know you probably avoid them pretty well, but what are some of those? Maybe some of them are a little more tempting to partake in, and some of them are easy to stay away from. But what are some things you see kind of in the workplace that are?
I'm fortunate in that we're like 95% male, so there is very little intermingling of the sexes. And I would think though that if I worked at a place that had a bigger ratio, then sexual sins are going to be there. I mean, sexual temptations are going to be there. From what I see, though, it does. Of course, you realize early on in life that life doesn't go good if you give into those things, and family and people. And there's guys out there that anyway. So I don't run into that. But if you're in sales or something, that's going to be an issue. If you're in public, any type of public-oriented type business, but in mine, 95%. Even more, I don't have a single lady, a single woman in my whole group. So we're 100%. So that won't be such an issue. But course communication is my number one. The guy that walked down your breezeway there, probably coming at when the plane. So, yeah, that's the hardest thing I do because I tend to want to coarsen up. Especially if there's emotion involved, and that is my biggest. Is I've got to control my tongue, and it's not out of anger. I've learned. I mean, at my age, being angry does not help a bit. But I mean, it doesn't fix a problem. One, you can't even respond and say, "Well, that helped that a whole lot." No, it always makes it worse. So I'm good on controlling my tongue with anger, but hoarseness, I gotta make sure that that's my biggest. Not cursing, but cussing.
It's kind of off guard.
I find myself that Peter, I'd be like, okay, man, Peter was a fisherman. He was a rough man. I don't want to be a rough man.
What about, I know you're kind of a supervisor and you're talking about, something's broken, got to get it fixed. What about cheating on results or reports? Have you ever seen any of that in y'all's place? I mean, not you particularly, probably, or attempted too much, maybe, but try to cover up something and say, oh, well,
That's like I spoke to before. I've been there 20 something years. There was when I was first there, there was a atmosphere. A not a, That's not the right. There was a uh,
culture.
that's the word. A culture. You did if your department did something, don't bring it up. And if you can deflect, deflect. And it was terrible. It was because everybody knew. Oh yeah, they messed it up. And now we got to fix it. There was nothing but problem because it looked like the problem was this. They said it broke. So you're over there trying to fix what they said broke when it really wasn't that. You had people not doing what they're supposed to, not caring, just letting it, whatever. So uh,
Hmm.
yeah, there's always a fear of failure when you're making good money or you've got a good job or you want the respect. There's a fear that if you fail, people will fire you. They will do all kinds of bad things will happen, and that's not really true. Failure, if you accept it, if you say this is what I did wrong and I will do different, and you know, plan. That's really, what's your next plan? What are you going to do from this?
Get it
Then
fixed. How are you going to get it fixed? Yeah.
not only that, how we're going to not make sure it happens again. We'll have a piece that fails, and we'll fix it. That's all you do. That's almost failure right there because you're you've learned that hey, if anything happened on this, well, there's a piece of sister equipment just like it. Let's go look at that and see if it's about to fail. If you catch
Hmm.
stuff, you've done the right thing. And not only that, people, man, you're smart. And it's like, no, it just makes sense. You got a flat. If you got a bad brake on your left tire, and you say, well, I fixed that. Well, it's like, well, what about your right front? I mean, you just did one. They come in pairs, don't you know? And so
Hmm.
it's not real. It's common sense, but a lot of times we don't use it. So hiding that is, yeah, people have a temptation to hide it, and if they hide it and you catch them and you slap them, then they're going to keep hiding it. What you do is say, okay, I know, if you want, go ahead and forgive. Perhaps not the right word you use in business. If you overlook it, if you acknowledge it, and say, okay, let's don't do that anymore, then there's a better chance that they'll say, "Hey, it's doing the same thing," or at least you get some progress. But if you slap them or hit them over the head every time that you catch somebody doing something, or you lied to me, or whatever, then yeah, they're not going to share it. They're not going to bring it up. You got to get to where people are pretty honest. And yeah, there's a big deal about you can't really hide numbers ways where somebody else checks your. So, but yeah,
What about,
honestly,
well,
any
I know you're a supervisor, and hopefully there's some young people watching this. I know we did this class 5 or 6 years ago with some young people, but uh, in particular, thinking in terms of maybe I'll call it sin, but in terms of being lazy on the job or not showing up on time and not pulling your weight, how does that play out in your group? And have you had to fire people for that, for not showing up on time and not doing their job? And how does that play out?
Ed, you know what? That is a current problem. We actually, when people, we write them up. And what all you do when you're writing up is say, hey, this is a problem. You got a choice to make, and give them that choice. And the issue is, it's weird, is that people maybe, well, they call them millennials, and I don't talk bad about them, but a lot of my guys are 5, 60, 65 years of age, and they are there an hour early because that's important to them. They were taught that or whatever. And I'm not saying new generation or anything. I won't speak bad, but we had a guy that we weren't going to hire, and the HR person said, "Well, they're millennials. They're a little different," and so because they're not used to being this, and so we hired him, and he's working out fairly well. But the main thing is that there is a difference in I don't want to say culture. For instance, they see nothing wrong with whooping a phone out while they're sitting there working in the field and talking on it or whatever, and yet that's kind of a rule that is, and they think it's an old bogey rule, but it's still a rule. And so there's a and now the biggest problem I have with that is that they're not all one way or the other. I have an older group that's if I'm here, they're there an hour early, 30 minutes early, and you got somebody there 5 minutes late. Well, the one early, oh, they're waiting for me to slap somebody around for being 5 minutes late. So if everybody was 5 minutes late, they wouldn't care. Frankly, I don't care. Just make them stay late. But as long as because they don't start at 6 o'clock in the morning right now. Anyway, everybody.
Right on the dot.
Yeah, it's not. But since there's two different groups of people, more than two, but you got some that just can't get there. And by the way, I'm a late. I work 6-ish to 6-ish. So, but and now, of course, I'm gonna make sure I work my 40, but it's flex hours is what the industry says. But it's not all that way. So having some that do and some that don't, you got to make sure that the ones that are really, if you abuse it, you got to say, are they abusing it? Then, or are they just that way? I know that's a judgment call. You know what? I'm never going to call because I'll have guys that say, "Oh no, slap them down. You got to write them up." It's like, dude, I'm not going to fire 'em. I don't want to fire them. It's hard to find good help, but
yeah, to replace them.
I can't let them abuse. You have, two guys abusing it, and you got everybody else sticking by the rules. The other guys are going to be mad, and morale thing. You got to keep an eye on the morale. You got to. It's kind of like somebody won't pull their weight. I used to wash dishes in a steakhouse, and if you're the only one doing what you're supposed to do, you get bitter about those that don't. And so, and you're going to find that even if you start out, or if you start getting then you're doing all the work. It's not a nice feeling, but don't worry about that. Just do your part.
Do your job, yeah. Kind of a closing question here, and you can kind of lump in some closing comments if you want, but how does doing your best at your job make you feel? Kind of doing what you're supposed to be doing, taking care of business. How does that make you feel, and how does that make your boss and coworkers feel? I know you're the boss, but I'm sure you also have a boss, as you said, but.
He's a different plant. Yeah. Of course I do feel good. It's a I've got a bunch of different guys doing different stuff, and when it all works out well, I get a satisfaction out of it. When we keep it running and we track and all that, it's like it's almost like a video game. How like you win. I don't like losing. Nobody likes it. It's not the end of the world if I have a bad day. If they have a bad day, bad week, you come back. But I do like to win. Everybody likes to win. Everybody likes to be on the winning team. So I like to do good. I like it when the guys do good. They make me look good. And so the trick is to see things coming down the road and say, okay, guys, we need to be looking at that. A lot of times people don't want to finish something. I'm bad about procrastinating. No, we got to finish this because if we lose this, we're going to be in trouble. So with all that being said, it does make me valuable. I do feel liked and wanted. It's a good feeling, and I thank God for getting me. He may fire me tomorrow. My bosses may fire me tomorrow, but if it does, I'll know that's because that's kind of what God had in mind. You know what I'm saying? And so enjoy the good when it comes, and when it doesn't look good, realize that all those things. Training brings all those pains, bring out strength and all the good come from working out. And there's always some pain involved. So I feel good. My bosses, if you win a lot, nobody wants my job. I have a very difficult job, and yet seems like all the things I've done all the years kind of all come together in it, and it makes me work. I can do this, and it doesn't bother me. I don't lose sleep at night.
I think there's also and I mentioned it before, a scriptural image that comes to mind as you're talking about that, as you're talking about this gathering of experiences sort of over the course of a lifetime. The Bible calls that maturity. It talks about the sense of these. I know James talks about trials, kind of joy for trials because that leads towards maturity. The idea of, like you said, I don't get angry about things. I don't lose sleep. But, if it breaks, you got to fix it. But if it takes a day to fix it or an hour or a week, you got to fix it and move on. If it takes a week, you're not going to be able to do it in 2 days. So there's no reason to fret over it or whatever.
You the body. He doesn't bring it under subjection. You got to fight. It's always a fight. It's always a struggle. You never do it like that's so easy because, frankly, if you do it that's so easy, they're going to have you doing more of it. So it's yeah, I enjoy it, and if it ends, if I should get laid off, I'm good. Just make the big deal on it is don't separate your work from your real person. Your real person, the Christian that we all know in each other. I mean, that should be your real person.
Mm,
And if you work like you ought to, there should be no difference. And
mm,
you clean up after everybody else, even when you don't like to. I mean, don't separate it because you're going to be two different people and you're going to be struggling. No, but and it's just and when you have issues at work, go to God. I mean, He'll. I mean, I have issues, and you pray about things, you put in God's hand. It's not separate from worship. Don't think there's a wall there. There's not a wall
mm.
there. A weak Christian, you're going to be a weak worker, perhaps. I mean, I'm not sure that's actually a direct. But seriously, if you're a strong Christian, you will be a strong worker. Boom, you did
Mm.
something.
Yeah, I think I jiggled my cord a little bit. All right, any good stuff, man. Enjoyed visiting with you and learning about some of those things and getting your input on this class. Hopefully, all you that have been viewing have enjoyed our discussion. We'll be interviewing some more. I'll be putting these on Wednesday nights, so you guys feel free to. I'll be putting them up on Facebook around 7 or so, and also YouTube. So feel free to jump on and watch these and keep up with them. We'll do however many I can cobble together here. Hopefully, half a dozen or so at least, and get some insight. So let's close with prayer, Mike. Thanks for visiting with us today. We'll have a little prayer here. Father, thankful for the time that I had visit with Mike and him sharing his experiences and life with us, and thankful for his example of walking in you here in church as a leader and also at his workplace as a leader, as he's been sharing and seeking to help his team of guys work together and in a good healthy way, and thankful for his demeanor and his experiences to lead him towards maturity as he shared, and for his example in life in so many ways. Thankful for the blessings he give us in Jesus and help us to walk and seek to walk in him daily. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
And
All right. I have to cut that off.
okay,
All right, man. Thanks a lot.
you bet. Bye bye.
All right. Talk to you later. Bye. Let's see.